Big Agnes has taken our favorite tent for motorcycle camping, the Copper Spur, and made it even better. And we're proud to be one of the very few retailers in the country currently selling the new, updated Big Agnes Copper Spur bikepacking tent. Let's talk about what makes this version better than the previous version. So they have made some significant changes to the Copper Spur, taken what is already a fantastic product and made it even better. And I want to go through kind of the changes that they've made, the upgrades that make the new tent better. I have a lot of experience with the Copper Spur, so I just want to kind of go through some of the pros and cons of this tent as well, in case you're thinking about picking one up. The biggest and most obvious improvement is the new dry bag stuff sack with straps. It's got sort of a polyvinyl strap around the outside, much easier to attach to your bike, to your handlebars, to your luggage, wherever you want to put it, to your backpack. And it's fully waterproof, which is great for a bunch of reasons that we'll cover in a minute. The fabric is their new proprietary HyperBead fabric, and it is lighter, stronger, and more waterproof than ever. Now, I'm not going to get super technical about what makes HyperBead better, but the gist of it is this. They have a siliconized exterior and a TPU coating on the interior. They stretch the fabric when they apply the silicone, which means the fabric holds up better and doesn't sag when it gets wet. The tent body is 15 to 20% more abrasion resistant than before, while being 5% lighter, still super breathable. Essentially, instead of adding a bunch of nasty chemicals to the fabric itself, they just coat the outsides. It's a super thin coating. It's better and longer lasting than any DWR without the chemicals. So the specs for the new tent, let me just run down the numbers that you're gonna wanna know. Total weight of the packed tent is 3 pounds and 11 ounces, and the pack size is 16 inches by 5.5 inches. Inside, you've got a 29 square foot floor area, and you've got a 9 square foot vestibule on either side covered by an awning and or the rain fly that you see here. Inside, the head height of the tent is 40 inches. The poles are their DAC Featherlight NSL pole system with short stick technology, meaning the sections are only 12 inches long. And one of my favorite things about this is that the 4 poles are connected. So it's really only one big pole, like a big spider pole, and then there's one shorter cross pole. It's very quick and easy to set up because of that. It has 2 side pockets, one 3D bin pocket up above your feet, and one oversized helmet pocket, which is made for bicycle helmets, but it's still really useful for us. It comes with 8 6-inch Dirt Dagger ultralight stakes, and on the back side, you can't see it from this side, but there's an awning style door, so there's 2 long zippers, so the awning comes straight out like this, and if you have trekking poles or sticks, you can make a very nice awning to sit under and or have the vestibule style on this side, so you have choices there. The new stuff sack is an easy pack stuff sack, and compression closure makes packing super simple and easy. I can attest to that, and the MSRP on this tent is $599.95. So that's a lot of stats and specs, but let me just tell you what I like about this tent from using it for a while now. I've used this tent, I've used the previous version, and this is an improvement across the board pretty much in every way. And why do I love it so much? It's very roomy inside. The gear loft up above is the perfect place for like the bag that your sleeping pad comes in, the stuff sack for your sleeping bag. I threw the bag from the outside of the tent up there, and all that stuff is just up out of the way and right where I know where it is, so it's not like getting lost underneath my sleeping pad and in among my gear, and then when I go to pack up, I'm like, where did I put that? Did it get caught in something? Doesn't happen. The pack size is obviously the biggest and most important feature of this for us as moto campers. This thing fits easily in a pannier, fits easily in rackless luggage from 40 liters to 80 liters and everything in between. And with the new stuff sack and the polyvinyl straps, it just straps easily to the outside of your luggage or pretty much anywhere you want to put it. When luggage space is at a premium, saving those extra liters, and it's about 2/3 the size of most 2-person backpacking tents that you find, it makes a big difference. The Copper Spur is a freestanding tent, which means it will work even on hard surfaces. You could set it up on the blacktop at an RV park. It works in the desert. It works on hard rock surfaces because you don't have to stake it in. But when you need to, those Dirt Dagger stakes that come with it work incredibly well. They're some of my favorites. Lightweight, easy in and out of the ground. They're my favorite stakes probably ever, which is a stupid thing to have a favorite of, but I do. The new dry bag is a huge improvement because it means you can both keep your tent dry on rainy days when it's on the outside of your luggage and you're riding to camp. And then when you pack up a wet tent, you can put it inside the stuff sack so that when you put it in your luggage, it's not getting the rest of your luggage wet. Dry bags work both ways, and you can use both ways with this tent. Sure is nice to have an actual waterproof sack to put your tent in. The daisy chain webbing on the top of the tent and of the rainfly itself is a great place to kind of hang socks and stuff at the end of the day. That's really what it's for. Take your neck gaiter off, take your socks, your gloves. You can put them on top of the tent where they can bask in the sun and get dry before you got to put them back on the next day. The setup is incredibly quick and easy. I love that it clips to the poles, no sleeves to run things through. There are clips on the ends that you clip the rainfly to the footprint or to the tent itself, so there's no like going underneath and strapping the rainfly to the poles. You can do that for extra stability, but you don't have to. I almost never do. Also really love that the corners of the tent are color coded and they correspond to the poles and to the footprint. So as long as you're matching orange to orange to orange, you're setting your tent up right the first time every time, because the footprint is asymmetrical, because the tent is slightly asymmetrical. I love that the footprint extends out to the end of the vestibule. I have a lot of tents where the footprint just goes under the tent and you're on bare ground when you get outside of the tent, but this way, if you keep your vestibule closed, keep the rain fly down, that all stays dry. So in the morning, when you get up, you can stand up and put your shoes on instead of trying to wrestle them on while sitting inside the tent, because you have a dry place to stand in your socks. And the only real downside to that, the bigger vestibule, is that if you don't have the awning out, technically water gets on top of it and then is shunted immediately underneath your tent. So make sure that you keep that awning fully extended if it's going to be raining. Now this is a great tent. I love it. It gets my highest recommendation, but it's not perfect. So let's talk about what I don't like about it. One, and it's very obvious, the price. $600 is a lot of money for a tent. Premium gear like this is expensive, and for us, bikepacking tents are the only way that I've found, aside from just sleeping on the ground or just setting up a tarp shelter. But if you want a full tent with mosquito net and room to put your gear inside and a full rain fly, bikepacking tents are the only way that I know of to get a little bit of extra space in your panniers by shrinking that tent down. Downside to that is they're all very expensive. So if you want the smallest tent possible, it costs a little bit more and you're paying extra for a premium product, but it is really expensive when you compare it to other backpacking tents. You can get a tent that's just as good, but packs 35% bigger for about half as much. This is not your first tent. This is not the tent you buy when you're like, I think I might try moto camping. This is the tent you buy when you've been moto camping a lot, you're starting to wear out your original tent, or you're starting to feel the pain of not having as much space as you'd like because your tent is too big. Something you're sure you're gonna use a lot, then it makes sense to spend this much. If you're not sure, maybe start smaller and work up to this. The footprint is not included with the tent, and for $600, I really feel like it should be. It's $90 extra. You could use a tarp or something that would get you by, but the footprint is so integrated with this design, it almost feels essential. So not only is the tent expensive, but then you gotta buy a footprint on top of it. That feels like a gut punch after you've already spent $600. It's a double-walled tent, so the airflow is really good inside. There's a vent on top, but if you don't stake out the corners, particularly when it's a cold night and you're gonna be very warm inside the tent, there is gonna be some moisture in there. So you have to stake out the extra guy lines to really get the air flowing through your tent on colder nights, or else you are gonna get some moisture. Not like a single wall tent, but definitely you're gonna get some if you don't fully set it up. This tent, like I mentioned, is asymmetrical. It has a head and a foot, and if you don't get it right, you have to rotate it. Fortunately, that's easy because it's freestanding, but still, if you're in a hurry to set it up or it's dark, it's pretty easy to get the footprint oriented incorrectly or even upside down, and then it's really confusing because your footprint doesn't fit underneath your vestibule and the tent doesn't attach the way that it should. And I only mention this because I watched Duck Fan fight this tent for, I don't know, at least 3 attempts on our Oregon BDR trip, because I kept saying just use the color coding, and he was just like stubborn and trying to do it on its own. So just know, the footprint is asymmetrical, the tent is asymmetrical. Take advantage of the color coding, quick and easy setup. If you ignore it, it becomes more complicated. And my final con here is that it's technically a 2-person tent, but like most 2-person designs, it's really designed more for 1 person and their gear, or 1 person and a dog. You could technically get 2 people inside this tent, but you better really like each other, because you're basically going to be sharing the same sleeping pad. We are very stoked to be offering the new and improved Big Agnes Copper Spur bikepacking tent. Not many places have this right now, and we're just fortunate to be one of them, to be able to offer it to you. Their bikepacking tents really set the standard for ultra compact, ultra high quality tent options. They were the first brand we carried in bikepacking tents, and it's great to see that they're continuing to innovate. The original Copper Spur was already one of the best bikepacking tents on the market, and these improvements have only made it better. It's not a cheap tent, but for the unique needs of motorcycle campers, this tent is hard to beat. It gets our highest recommendation. If you want a light and small packing tent that's freestanding and easy to set up, this is it. There are slightly smaller packing and slightly lighter tents out there, but they're either not freestanding or they're not as easy or convenient. This tent really hits the sweet spot in terms of features, pack size, and convenience, at least in our opinion. If you're in the market for moto camping gear, please take a minute, pop over to motocampnerd.com, where you'll find the world's most carefully curated selection of motorcycle camping gear. Every piece of gear on the site has been vetted and selected specifically with the needs of motorcycle campers in mind. It's not like a site where you buy backpacking gear and kind of have to sift through and hope it'll work on your bike. Everything there is something that we've picked out specifically to make your camping off your motorcycle easier, because at Moto Camp Nerd, our goal is to help you pack small so you can camp easy.